Today's topic is silver linings and moving forward, a topic that, is near and dear to a lot of our hearts as we work through this COVID and transition into our next step of the phase, I guess, of the pandemic. We'll have about a 20 to 30-minute presentation and followed by some Q&A. So sit back and enjoy and relax. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our speaker today. And our speaker, John Britton, is a people-focused professional who has experience across multiple sectors of the charitable world. He blends business with heart and compassion to ignite a passion for a cause and drive positive change in the charitable arena. John has seen success in several organizations in the Canadian not-for-profit healthcare sector on both ends of the coasts of our beautiful country. When John isn't working in his current capacity of CEO of the Alzheimer Society of Nova Scotia, you'll likely find him enjoying the outdoors, his cats, or indulging in some wonderful travel. And so today it is my great pleasure to also say that this is John's 2-year anniversary with us at the Alzheimer Society. So I guess a big welcome and a big happy anniversary to you, John. I look forward to hearing your presentation, and I'll join you again at the end where we can have some questions and answers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Catherine. I always smile when I hear the introductions to myself on calls like this, because I have to remind myself, oh, she's actually talking about me. So it's a real pleasure to be here today. I'm actually really excited and thankful to the programs and the educations team for inviting me today, because I know this is maybe a little bit of a departure from some of the topics that we've covered in our ALZ sessions over the last months. But it really is going to be a pleasure today to share a little bit of behind the scenes news with those that matter the most to us, our clients and our stakeholders and our supporters. So I will just share my screen. Give me 1 second to get this up and running. So today's topic is, we called it silver linings and moving forward. It's really crazy to me that we are well over a year since all of the things that we've been experiencing started to go down. And honestly, even just logging on today and seeing our team from the Alzheimer Society in this arena, I just want to pause before we even start to say a huge thank you and congratulations to the Alzheimer team for really embracing this new technology and doing a spectacular job at creating new content, listening to what people's needs are, making sure that we are here to connect and spend some time together. So thank you to Catherine and to Beth and to the rest of the Alzheimer team for your incredible work so far. We really appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about silver linings and moving forward. And really what this is about is what have we learned in the last 12, 18 months since the crisis began. Before I start though, let me run through some of the things that I want to talk to you about today. So I do know that we've got a wide variety of people on the call with us today, and some may know a lot about Alzheimer Society Nova Scotia, which we'll refer to as ASNS. And some people might not know anything and everything in between. So before we talk about the year that we've had, I really think it's important to give you a bit of grounding. So I am going to talk a little bit about our service model and how we are funded, because those are the things I'll be commenting on as we move through the session. Then we're going to talk about COVID-19, specifically the impact on our services as an organization, how we initially responded, and how we've embraced this new normal. And then we'll end the session today. We're all well aware of the difficulties of the last 12, 18 months. We really try at the Alzheimer's Society to acknowledge what's happening in the external environment and how it's impacting us professionally and personally. But we also really want to make sure that we are continually forward thinking and remaining positive in our outlook. And there have been many silver linings to go along with the stresses of COVID-19. And we really want to focus on that, how we've responded to those silver linings and where we would like to go next. So we'll start off with a bit of an overview of the Society. and how we're constructed. So we have a person-centered model of service delivery, and that is specifically the person with the dementia diagnosis being at the center and at the heart of everything we do. Every decision that we make, every conversation that we have starts with the people that we exist to support. Now, we also support care partners of people with a dementia diagnosis. We also support healthcare professionals, and we also do a lot of work in just general public education and awareness. So specifically the person with dementia in the center, but ultimately we have a person-centered model. And our services are split into 3 streams. So our first stream is called First Link, and probably the single most important thing that we do. First Link is the umbrella term for a suite of support services, direct support services for people with a dementia diagnosis and their care partners. So it's not just one program. First Link is the umbrella term for many programs. We're going to spend a second on the next slide looking at what those programs are. So First Link is for a person with a diagnosis and care partners. The second stream is to support our healthcare professionals through a series of education initiatives. And again, we'll look at those on the next slide. And then the third stream is what we're doing today, which is general public education. So a wide variety of education topics around hot button topics around living with dementia. What are some of the activities that we're engaged in? What are some of the advocacy initiatives that are underway? So that's where we focus our energies with public education. So to look at those in a little bit more detail, there are our 3 program streams across the top of the slide there, and we'll start with First Link. Infoline is our telephone counselling service. So that's everything from an ear for support through to I just got a diagnosis, where do I go from here, through to I can't connect with my family physician. So there's a lot of systems navigation, there's a lot of direct telephone support through Infoline. Shaping the Journey is a program that's designed to meet an individual where they are at on their own personal journey with dementia, and helping to identify what supports may be required for the individual and the care partners. We have our Family Caregiver Education series, which is obviously what it sounds like. It's an ongoing education series that we run across the province to support caregivers. Caregiver support groups, a little bit different in that they are peer support and peer-led. We have our Artful Afternoon, which is in partnership with the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia, which is focused on art therapy. Coffee and Conversation, which is for people with a dementia diagnosis, and that is literally what it sounds like. Join us for a coffee, or right now, join us online and we'll have a chat. And sometimes those chats are structured. Sometimes they are just telling stories and having a giggle. But the whole point of that is to stay connected. We have You First, which is one for healthcare professionals, but we also do You First for families, which is actually up and running right now. Minds in Motion, which is focused on stimulation of the brain through exercise and through cognition exercises. And then our Friends and Family Night, which is an addition to our annual conference. So as you can see, First Link itself is made up of a number of different programs that are designed to support at different levels and different stages of the dementia journey. In terms of healthcare provider education, we have You First for Healthcare, which is a direct learning series for not just doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, but anybody in the healthcare setting that might have daily interactions with somebody with a dementia diagnosis. We do First Link outreach across the province, and we have our annual conference, which is open to everybody, but we do tend to focus a bit more on healthcare provider education through the conference stream. And then in terms of public education, we have ongoing awareness campaigns, January being the main month for Alzheimer awareness. Our Early Stage Forum, which is an annual event for those with a new diagnosis or in early stage dementia. We have awareness breakfasts, which are a series of 3 in-person breakfasts in January, Awareness Month, that take place across the province. And then we have an ongoing series of presentations and workshops. So again, really, really important just to get a sense of just how wide and varied our services are, and how we kind of target specific demographics. So we're making sure that the information and support we provide is as relevant as possible. In terms of funding, also really important to share this, just because obviously when we look at impacts, fundraising and fund development were significantly impacted in the last 12 months or so. So we do receive a significant amount of support from our government, both provincial and federal. So annually we receive, it changes depending on the year, but this last fiscal year, just over $1 million, which actually accounts for about 44% of our annual budget. The additional 56% of our annual budget, which is almost $1.4 million, is fundraised by our staff team, volunteers and community stakeholders. So as you can see, there's a pretty significant split there between support from our government partners and money that we raise ourselves to continue our work. So, March the 12th, 2020, a day that I don't think any of us will forget in any kind of a hurry. So, as Catherine had very kindly mentioned earlier, today marks my 2 years with the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia. So, I joined the team this time in 2019. Spent the first 6 months getting to know the team, because it's a very well-established organisation with a lot of long-standing staff members. So I wanted to come in and learn from the team before we even thought about where we go next. So in January 2020, I'd been in play for about 6 months, and then I worked with the team to put together my first strategic plan for the organisation and my first budget. We had it approved at our board meeting on March the 11th, 2020. At about 8:30 p.m. Said to the team, see you in the morning. We come in on March the 12th, and that was the date that the global pandemic was declared. So like everybody else in the world, we tell that story just because it was just so ironic to me that less than 12 hours prior, we'd got our new strategic plan. We were all feeling all confident about our new direction. And then, of course, everything shifted with the onset of COVID. I was trying to find a photograph. This is the day we all left the office as well. And I wrote on my desk calendar the day the world ended on March the 12th, and I'd forgotten all about it. And then when the office reopened again at the end of July last year, I went back in and got that reminder because it was still sitting there on my desk. So we're all familiar with what happened with COVID. We don't need to go into too much detail. I always say that we're talking about silver linings today. And to me, one of the silver linings is, despite how stressful and awful COVID has been, there is a bit of power knowing that every single person understands the difficulties. So we've all faced challenges through COVID, and they've been very, very different, whether they're professional challenges or personal challenges, but we've all had them. And I think it's unusual to go through a major event globally where everybody at least has that shared commonality. So despite the stress, there is a little bit of power there. But right then at the beginning, we did not know anything. We didn't know how long this pandemic was going to last. We didn't know how it was going to affect people on the dementia journey. We could certainly guess, but we did not know for sure how our clients were going to be affected. We didn't know if that core funding that I just shared with you, the 44% of our funding that comes from government, would be secure. And that's not to insinuate that our government partners gave us any indication, because they didn't. We have a wonderful relationship with our government funders. It's very collaborative. We see them as partners, not as funders. But governments change and priorities change. And in the event of a global pandemic, we had no idea what the government response was going to be. So we couldn't confidently say that funding was secure. And then the 56% of our annual budget, so $1.4 million, we had no idea how fundraising was going to be affected. We knew that it would be, and we suspected that it would be quite bad, but right at the beginning, we did not know. So we decided to focus on what we did know, and what we did know was this: that our clients would need more support than ever. That just stood to reason from day one. We knew that COVID would bring with it some new challenges, but we also know that dementia care in Canada, dementia care in Nova Scotia, we are constantly working to improve it and to impact more people. And we did know that COVID would not just bring new issues, but it would amplify existing issues of isolation and lack of access to respite care. All of the things that we know people already struggle with, we knew would just be compounded through COVID. We knew we needed to retain our staff. And I know a lot of organizations in those early days made the necessary decision for them to lay people off. Our staff or our services, the vast majority of people employed by the Alzheimer Society are in our programs and services team, delivering direct services through all of those streams that we showed you earlier. So we knew whatever happened, we needed to keep our team in play. And we knew that we needed to remain open and accessible. That was priority number one. We didn't know what this was going to look like. So we got the team together, and in the absence of any knowledge, we just basically said to each other, we don't know where we're going next, but we have to be willing to take the first step, even though it's scary and even though we don't know where that staircase is going to lead. Just take that first step. I say first step. I think it's fair to say, especially from the programs team, that it felt more like a leap off a cliff. Maybe not quite as gentle as a staircase. But one thing I'm incredibly proud of this team for doing is taking that leap without any hesitation and knowing that there would be a firm landing on the other side, but we had to take that leap to begin with. So our initial response. The entire team was working from home within a week. We put immediate focus on uninterrupted telephone support. So online was new to us back then. Fortunately, we had already just implemented Microsoft Teams before the crisis to help us stay a bit better connected. We do have some staff, 6 staff that work from home offices across the province. And we wanted to make sure that we were staying connected. So luckily we had Microsoft Teams already in place, but what we decided in the initial days was InfoLine was where we would put 100% of our focus because it was a telephone service and we knew how to handle it. So we put all of our staff on contacting every single client that was registered for a program, received a phone call from us to say that we are still open, we are still here, and every single stakeholder, donors, community partners, government partners, received either a phone call or an email from the society saying that we're still here. And immediately we started to figure out how to move these core services online. So basically our initial response was this: we're here and we are available. That was critically important to get that message out there, especially in the early days of the crisis. And before we move into the silver linings portion, which is really, I want to keep this very upbeat and focus on the positives. I really do think we would be remiss to not pause for a second and acknowledge and remember the difficulties of the last 12 years. The people that we have lost, whether it was to dementia itself or whether it was to COVID or other complications or a combination, we have lost folks. We have seen awful struggles with people in long-term care, both residents that live in long-term care, the tireless efforts of the staff that work in long-term care, and of course, you as family and friends who were unable to even see or access their loved ones. So we really didn't want to go through this presentation and not acknowledge that even though we're focused on the positive here, we have seen some monumental losses this last 12 months, and it's important that we take pause to remember that. So very quickly, we moved into our post-COVID world, and pre-COVID, our connections to our clients was the most important thing, and that did not shift. It's just how we connected had to shift. So immediately we launched an awareness campaign called Our Connections Matter, just to let people know that we were still here and we were still very, very focused on delivering impactful services despite the global pandemic. I found this nifty little image whilst I was looking through some of my files, and it's our flower, our emblem, the forget-me-not. And it just so happens to be concreted over, but it's found that crack and it is growing through the crack and it is flourishing. And I think that's a great analogy for the team at the Alzheimer Society and how we've responded over the last 12 months. It's been hard. We love people. We are all in this society, we're all in the charitable sector because we want to be with people, we want to support our fellow man. And we are used to being in person. We're used to being able to connect and network and laugh together. So even for our team to go from this to this was a really, really, really difficult shift. We lost everything that we pretty much knew about the work that we did. So again, props to the team for just embracing this new world and just moving bravely forward into it. And not just doing that, but doing it with heart and doing it with humor and just accepting it as our new world. So there was never a sense of this is temporary or we'll just fudge through in the next couple of weeks. The team really threw themselves in with ultimate passion and ultimate humility. And the result is quite impressive. What we have found through our new activities is, so this is a screenshot of our YouTube channel. And in the past, when we did public education, we would do it in person, which we will be doing again. I'll come to that later. And we had a number of sessions that we would do across the province to different groups. Obviously, moving online, everything shifted. The content that we had needed to be revised. We needed more content because we didn't know how long this was going to go on for. So what we've ended up doing is creating a suite of education programs that cover a wide variety of topics. And we're moving into the silver linings here because as much as we miss connecting with people in person, we suddenly found that we were reaching a whole bunch of people that we just didn't reach before. There are some people that have mobility issues that prevent them from accessing in-person programs. There are some people where geography prevents access to programs. And there are some people that just don't like hanging out with other people, and that's their prerogative and therefore would never want to come to an in-person program. So all of a sudden, we found that not only were we reaching new people, but we also are providing now sessions that people can watch in their own time. So if you are a 3 a.m. in the morning kind of person, pour yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and watch one of the sessions. That's something that wouldn't have been available to us in our past model. And that's one of the big silver linings coming out of this that will not go away. We've recognized that we are reaching different people in a way that's more meaningful for them. And our full intention is to carry on doing so. In terms of other silver linings, so this slide from earlier is a direct duplication of the earlier slide. So these are our programs. This was our program suite pre-COVID. And this is our program suite post-COVID. And again, I'll pause for a second and just say that I'm very, very proud of the team for such an impressive commitment to this. Every single one of our programs, except for the two in red that you see, have some kind of online or presence or are active. Most of them are active online in their original format. Some of them have had to change a little bit. So for example, Awareness Breakfast, you'll see I have there in yellow. The whole point of Awareness Breakfast is that we meet our community in Cape Breton and we meet our community on the South Shore and we have an in-person event in Halifax. We obviously couldn't do that with COVID. We did have, though, an online panel presentation. So we tried to replicate what the Awareness Breakfast was about in the virtual environment, and it was very, very, very successful. Minds in Motion, the physical activity aspect was just too problematic for us to think about getting online. We decided that we wanted to put most of our efforts into the other direct support programs that we offered. And Family Night was an addendum to our annual conference. And obviously, we couldn't do that in person. What we did do, though, was host our conference online. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've seen there. And the big one in green at the bottom are public education sessions that we would do in person have now become All Z. And this is the session that you're with us today. This is the session on the screen that I just showed you where we've got all the former sessions available for access. So in terms of other silver linings, big wins for this year, our info line, which we focused on as a priority in those early days, we've seen a 23% increase in calls to info line through COVID. And that is proof right there that that telephone service was already a really important connection for many, many folks and became even more so through the crisis. And our team saw a big increase, 27% increase in follow-up calls. So that 23% increase is people calling us. And then the model that we use is that we do staged follow-ups. We saw a 27% increase in follow-up calls. In terms of our conference, we had over 300 people attend online. That is a 39% increase on the year before when we had our conference in person, where we had around 216 people, which is impressive. But the fact that we managed to attract even more people to an online forum really tells us that there's an appetite for this kind of education, and we certainly want to continue to make it available to as many people as possible. And again, the big benefit of an online conference, people can attend wherever they are. They don't need to make the journey into the city, worry about accommodations or parking or weather. They can dial in from home. Similarly, early stage forum, this is a really big win. We had an over 200% increase year on year by taking the early stage forum online. 187 people attended our first online early stage forum. And again, the big benefit there is that there were folks from all corners of the province. So what we've really learned, this is really where the learning and the future focus comes into play. Resilience and sustainability are essential. We're a charity, and the charitable sector, rightly or wrongly, we are known as feast or famine. We're either having a good year or we're having a bad year, and so many of these external factors can impact that. The work we do is far too important. The services we provide, the impact we have on folks on the dementia journey is far too important to hang in the balance when something like this happens. And what COVID has really shown us as a team and as an organization is just how resilient we are. We've really come through this stronger as a team, and we have a renewed commitment and focus now on sustainability and a rabid appetite at the office that nothing will stop us from doing what we do. And if a global pandemic can't do it, then nothing can. So there's been some really good positive outcomes in terms of feeling more resilient and more sustainable as an organization. We've already mentioned accessibility. The accessibility piece is that more people can liaise with us and connect with us online, which is amazing. We've managed to focus on efficiencies and resource improvements because we've had no choice. So in those early days, we moved online, but we didn't have IT support. We didn't have enough extra money to go off and pay all the big bucks for somebody to come in and manage our IT. So we looked to our team and we said, who's got IT skills? And we have quite a few teammates that do have IT skills, and they formed a little, we called them the IT champions, and they helped us move through the early days of the crisis. And in doing so, we really highlighted some efficiencies and some resource improvements that will stay with us moving forward. We have seen so much strength in our relationships that were already strong, but we've continued to communicate with our community partners, to collaborate, to connect with our clients, to be in constant dialogue with our government funders who are not only supporting us, but are looking to us for input. What are people telling you when they contact you? Where is the need in this province now? How is it changing because of this pandemic? So really strengthening of relationships has been a really unexpected silver lining. I mentioned fundraising earlier. I don't want to make this presentation about fundraising, but I will tell you that we suffered significant losses to our fundraising in the last 15, 16 months, which will come as no surprise. Everybody was focused on what was next for themselves. We knew that the walk wasn't going to make as much money because it was virtual. We had to cancel our evening to remember. General donations were down. So we started to communicate more effectively with our donors, and it's really helped. I think our donors feel more connected to us and understand our work more than ever. And of course, with all of this communication and awareness campaigns, all it does is bring more visibility and more awareness to this cause that we all care so deeply about. And really related to the first point here, fluidity. It's really just proved that as long as we are nimble, we are well positioned to deal with anything that comes our way. So what does this mean for us on the go forward? I don't know what post-COVID means. I don't think any of us do. It'd be interesting to find out, but here we are, thankfully in Nova Scotia at least, coming out of some of the restrictions that we've seen, feeling a bit more optimistic about the summer and beyond. And as an organisation, we are now thinking about where we go next. Very, very thrilled to reveal that our core funding from our government partners has been renewed and confirmed. We didn't suspect that that would be the case, but as we said earlier, nothing is guaranteed when something like this happened, but our core funding has been confirmed for the next 2 years, which is wonderful news. We have seen a massive increase in fundraising. So props to the fund development team for jumping off the cliff themselves and just getting out there, recognizing how much money we'd lost through the initiatives that had to be cancelled, and changing tactics and raising more money through different channels. So we've really, really seen an increase in fundraising. We've used the opportunity to make some massive improvements to our core services, and we will continue to do that. We've been looking at InfoLine and the fact that it's easy to connect with InfoLine, but you have to come through the main number, and we want to make it easier for folks. So we're now looking at getting a standalone number for InfoLine and looking at how we can improve those efficiencies there. We've had no choice but to invest in resource because we needed better IT support. We needed better online platforms. We needed to make sure our team weren't working on 10-year-old laptops, because if you're typing a Word document on a 10-year-old laptop, you can probably deal with the odd glitch. But if you're delivering essential services online, you need to make sure that you've got equipment that actually works. So we've used the opportunity to invest in some resource, and we will continue to do so. We are really excited to pick up that strategic plan that was approved earlier in 2020 and then had to be put back on the shelf. We're going to take it right back off the shelf and dust it off. And we're going to add into that plan what we've learned in the last 12 months and how does that tell us where we need to go next. So we're really excited to start our new strategic plan in the fall. And we really want to put more focus on advocacy and research. We do a spectacular job at service delivery. We've not really had much opportunity to do a lot of advocacy work. We do support the National Research Programme and we support researchers through bursaries on a local level. But we know, given what's happening in the external environment, that advocacy and research is somewhere that we need to put energy and time moving forward. The big question: in-person versus online. Well, we're going to do it both ways. We're going to have online services remain. We don't know to what level, but certainly they're not going anywhere. We have proven, as we've said, that we're meeting different needs, we're connecting with different people, and we are creating and developing a resource library. So online services will not be going away. We really, really are keen to get back to seeing you in person now. So we are already looking at what that needs to look like and when it is safe and feasible to do so. But you will see that there's an overlap in these two circles here. And I fully anticipate that we will have a hybrid model up and running as soon as possible, where some of the services are all online, some are all in person, but a lot of our services have both components to them. So we've not quite figured that out yet. But through our strategic planning and through our planning over the summer, one of our big priorities as a team is going to be looking at what hybrid service delivery needs to look like. So the main message is that as soon as possible, we want to get back in person at all corners of the province as soon as we feasibly can. In the meantime, we will remain connected to the entire province online, and we'll keep leaning into the unexpected benefits and silver linings that we've seen come out of that. The parting shot, the parting message is what we've learned the last 12, 18 months. Alzheimer's and dementia do not stop for a global pandemic. They do not pay any attention to what is happening out in the world. The problems still exist. The support still is required. So because Alzheimer's and dementia doesn't stop, neither do we. We are committed to being here for you. We're committed to being here for our clients. And we're really, really excited to share with you what is coming next. So hopefully you found that informative. I just want to thank you all for your time today and joining us for this presentation. Hopefully you learned something new about the organisation, and I will hand back to Catherine now for next steps.
Right. Thank you so much, John. What a fantastic presentation to kind of give that little snapshot to see, you know, where we were and how we had to shift. And in looking back now, it's hard to believe it's been that long ago, right? It's just been a jump, and I have to say it's been fantastic with staff who have just jumped in with 2 feet and guns blazing, and look at us now is what I like to say. We do have a few questions that have come in, and so if you have a few minutes, I would love to kind of pick your brain.
I have all the time in the world.
All right. So where do you see the Alzheimer's Society in 5 years?
So straight into the difficult questions. Thank you, Catherine. That's a great question. So again, I'm very, very keen. I don't think I can call myself a new CEO anymore, but because over a year of my time has been navigating COVID, I still don't really feel like the normal aspect of ASNS has been something I've experienced. So I am really keen to get this strategic planning up and running and take our organization to the next level. In terms of where I'd like to see us in 5 years, we reach a lot of people and we have a lot of impact, but we do know that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of folks living with dementia or on the dementia journey in Nova Scotia that we are not connected to. Through COVID, we found new and innovative ways to connect, and we want to continue to do that. So in 5 years, I want to set as a lofty goal that every single person in Nova Scotia that is experiencing dementia is connected to our society in a way that's meaningful to them. That might just be receiving our emails for information. It might be being registered in programs. It might be volunteering, but we really want to make sure that we are connecting with as many people as possible. I would also like to see us have a leading voice in research and a leading voice in advocacy issues in our province. So there's some lofty goals, but with the team that we have available and the incredible support of Nova Scotians, I know that we're going to get there.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. I think some really wonderful, great goals that, for us to reach forward and look forward to as well. I also want to say, you know, for people that are listening and people that are supporting persons with dementia, or if you have friends or family and you hear that people are struggling, please, you know, our info line number, and maybe Beth will put it in the chat box for people so that they can see that info line number. Please reach out because we are here and we can help. And don't hesitate, right? You're not alone in this journey. We're here to help. We have had another question come in, and it said, what has been the most challenging part of being impacted by COVID for the association?
That is an easy question to answer, and that is watching the team struggle. And you would not know it. Nobody would know, because our team is so professional and so committed and dedicated to the work that we do. But that has been hard because, especially in the first 6 months, we knew that we could not take our foot off the gas. And with that uncertainty that I talked about at the beginning, we knew that our obligation was to stay in play, to stay open, and to survive, for want of a better word, survive the crisis and come out the other end. And to watch the team absorb all of that stress and all of the uncertainty and do it with such gusto and such good humor and humility, it was incredible on this side because I was so proud and remain so proud of the team. But it was also heartbreaking because we couldn't take our foot off the gas. And I wanted to say, hey, take a month off. Go and look after your own needs. You've got families, you've got friends, you've got your own issues that COVID are affecting. And every day the team showed up relentlessly to offer these services. So that honestly has been the single hardest part of COVID is knowing that the team were being affected and that there was stuff we could do and that we did do, but knowing that really we just had to get through it. But get through it, we did.
We did. So if something were similar to COVID, we'll say, were to happen again, do you feel prepared? Do you think the society is prepared?
Well, so the title of this presentation was Silver Linings and Moving Forward. And I really mean it when I say that we've made a conscious effort as an organization, not just as a team, but as an organization, our board, our committees, our volunteers, to really not diminish how this has impacted us and the difficulties, but to recognize that this is the world we live in and we have to function in it. We have to remain, we have to continue doing what we do. So yes, the short answer to your question, Catherine, is yes, I do think we're ready. Whether it's wave 3 of COVID, whether it's a different variation, whether it's a whole new virus, or whether it's a completely different thing that happens externally, maybe the governments change and funding structures change. What we have learned in the last 12 to 18 months is that our work is too important to hang in the balance and to be that fragile. And one of the biggest successes I think the Alzheimer's Society has seen is that we took our time. When we were putting our services online, we didn't rush it. We did it properly because we knew that this was going to be longer term. When we were looking at internal processes, we didn't rush them. We said, okay, well, we need proper policies around working from home. How do we support our team in that new environment when they're not in the office? We now have policies, manuals, procedures that are ready to go. So should we need to flick a switch, literally flick a switch this time, and revert to a different way of working, absolutely we can do it. And again, things like making sure that our reserve fund, we are obligated through CRA to maintain 40% of an annual budget in an investment fund. That's to make sure that if the worst were to happen, that we can continue our services. We've really focused on that. So to make sure that all contingencies are covered. So that was the long answer. Catherine knows me well. I don't tend to give short answers, but the short answer would be yes. I do think we're ready, and I think it's because we took the necessary steps and due diligence as we figured out our new world.
That's wonderful. And I think, your long answers just show, as I said in the very beginning, your passion for the work that you do. So I appreciate the long answers, and I'm sure others do as well. So we're getting close to wrap up time. We have just a few minutes. I know for me, sometimes when I start thinking about and answering questions, I start thinking about other things I'd like to share and say. Is there anything sort of in closing final remarks that you would like to add?
Yeah, so you can probably tell, for those of you that I don't know, which is most people on the call, I'm not from Nova Scotia. I am from the UK. I'm a proud honorary Nova Scotian, and I have been now for 12 years, and this is home forever. I love it here and I live here. But I've never known a group of people, like a province, that is so committed and so supportive. I just want to say thank you to everybody on this call. I don't know how you intersect with our organization, but you're here today. You showed up to listen and to hear our messaging. I'm sure that you are engaged in our programming and receiving our emails and maybe sharing our content on social media. Perhaps you joined our walk. I really just want to say thank you. And collaboration is one of our core values as a society, and I'm really proud to say that it's true. We seek to collaborate. When a collaboration request comes in, we don't say no, we look for a reason to say yes. We can't say yes to everything, but we actively seek to collaborate, and it really means a lot to be connected across the province. Catherine, you do great work in Cape Breton. I think Cheryl's on the call here, another one of our regional coordinators, and I just think combined collaboratively with this much level of passion and commitment, we're in strong shape coming out of a situation that we've come in, and it's all thanks to the collaborative nature of everybody and the kind of people that are on this call. So thank you to everybody for being there. In being there for us, we can be there for you.
Well, thank you so much, John. Those certainly are some thoughtful responses to questions that came in during the course of the presentation. Thank you for taking the time today to share your time and your talent and your knowledge. And so it is so much appreciated. Please, thank you everybody for tuning in today. Please know that if you do need us, all it is we are just a phone call away. Our office, if you'd like to chat, is 1-800-611-6345. And you just have to call, and we're happy to help. And those are confidential calls. There's the slide that'll give you a little bit longer for you to peek at it if you'd like to reach out. The session today was recorded, and so it will be hosted on the Alzheimer Society of Nova Scotia YouTube channel. So you can watch it again. You can share it with family and friends and use it, as a teaching tool to let others know what it is that we're doing. So thank you everyone for inviting us into your home, into your space, into your office today. You will notice that there is a little poll that has showed up on your screen. So if you could take a moment and answer for us, we really do appreciate that. It allows us to know that what we're doing, is on the right track, and we're thankful to hear your opinion on that. And so as we close today, thank you everyone for joining us. Be safe, be well, and keep your eyes on our website and on your email inbox for our upcoming sessions that will be happening.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Catherine, for facilitating.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Take care.